With that being said, man, today we're going to be talking about the power of daily habits, man, the foundation of success. So let's just start with the first question. And I think that's going to kind of jump us into a little bit more information to kind of unpack this a little bit more. What daily habits do you think have the most significant impact on your overall well being? Just for you. And
You know,
then if you want to explore, people in general, I think that's okay too.
yeah, I think this question, even though I'm telling you right now, I'm not good at this one, but I think with this question, I have to say sleep. And because when you think about it, when you wake up in the morning and you well rested, you're kind of excited to get after what the day is, whatever you have planned for that day. But think about it on the adverse side of that. What if you had a terrible night's sleep? It's almost like you're dragging out of bed. You don't have the energy to do anything. You're feeling sluggish, and whatever the case may be, and you're looking to some type of energy drink, which has an adverse effect in it within itself, to kind of give you some pick me up. You're looking for the coffee to pick you up. You're dependent upon the coffee, and you hear people will say that, "Oh, well, don't talk to me until I get my first cup of coffee." But if you have a good night's sleep, and again, I'm stressing this because I am still working to improve my sleeping habits. But if you have a good night's sleep, I think that is the beginning of what the potential of a beautiful day can look like for you. So for me, I'm gonna keep this one simple, and I'm just gonna say a good night's rest. What about you?
Moving my body. Now some people would say working out, and for the most part, yes. However, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in the form of a working out. Moving my body, like I just told you, sometimes I spend time in the yard. So I go out in the yard and I'll work in the yard for hours and hours and hours. I worked in the yard today and I ran, but I got more steps working in the yard than I did from my run. And that's just because I was constantly moving, and I also was in the yard moving a lot longer. So, and how that has impacted my overall well-being is that, when I move my body, I'm a lot more looser. I'm not as stiff. I'm 48 now. I've had back surgery. I've had some bunch of different injuries and stuff like that. So me being able to continuously move makes me physically feel better. You know what I'm saying? So for me, on a surface level, it's just moving my body on a daily basis, not just sitting around for most of the day.
Yeah. No, so let me ask this because I think this kind of goes hand in hand. I'm not disagreeing with moving your body. I'm with you 100%. Um, but you're human, and you've experienced having nights where you didn't rest so well. How did that affect you when it came down to your like daily moving routine, like exercise and whatever that looks like?
Oh, it definitely affected it. So for me, I also have insomnia, right? So if I don't move my body enough, then I think sometimes my body feels like it didn't do enough. So, and then if I go to bed real early, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and then I can't go back to sleep. So for me, I have kind of developed this little concoction of having to move a certain amount every single day and not take naps, so that when it is time to go to bed, I can go to bed and I can sleep, and I can stay sleep throughout the night. So my working out is directly tied to my ability to be able to sleep. So because I don't like waking up in the middle of the night. I don't like waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, man, and just can't go back to sleep, and you just up, and the wife over there, she knocked out, she sleeps. So you don't really want to be up on the phone. You want to be watching no TV. You just lay there, you start thinking, and so yeah, man. So mine is directly linked to sleep and me moving my body and working out.
I'm sorry, I had to smile just now because when you said you wake up in the middle of the night and your wife over there sleep, it's like you wanted to shoot her elbow, like, wake up, I'm awake, you're supposed to be waking up.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Do not do that.
Well, I will say this. Sometimes she get up. Like sometimes, like I have before, like bumped her and I was like, "Hey, you want to watch a movie?" And she be like, "Yeah." Like So like we'll get up sometimes, we have before. I'm pretty right now, my sleep cycle is on. But
Mhm.
sometimes when it's been off, for a couple of days off and on, I will bump her and elbow her and she'll get up and watch a movie with me. So that's a good thing. Cause like you
That's
said, a
yeah.
lot of people like do
Yeah.
not mess with me when I'm asleep. And I get it.
Yeah. I think, and so all jokes aside, so
Yeah.
I think the lesson that we can pull from that, because like you, there are certain things that I want to do. For me, I don't do the high intensity workouts like I used to. I do low intensity workouts, and I don't do them every day. But it is a combination of moving my body not just for exercises, but also accomplishing the things that I need to accomplish within the given time that I have. Because if I don't, then this thing is still racing and it's like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So if I get enough of the things done that I need to get done, then this thing relaxes. When this thing relaxes, then I can rest well. So I think the key here for everybody who's listening, the key here is that your sleep is the quality of sleep that you get is in direct proportion to the amount of activity that you perform in a day. And I believe holistically that that activity is focused on what your goals are, right? So if your goal is to, and I know one of the big things that people like to focus on is step count. So if your goal is
Yeah.
10,000 steps a day, right? Then shoot that for a goal. I mean, whether you're at work, if you got to get out, take 10-minute breaks, because some people take smoke breaks, take walk breaks, right?
Yeah.
Walk around the building, get your steps in, go back to your desk and get back to work. And do that every hour. That way you can get the amount of steps in. Like anything you got to do to try to accomplish that goal, do that. Don't just create a goal and then come up with the reasons why you can't accomplish that goal, right? Do that, because I believe holistically that it is in direct proportion to the quality of sleep that you get at night.
And we could look at something on a basic level, that a habit that most people have, right? And that's getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning, right? So the people who have formed a daily habit of getting up and brushing their teeth every single day, when they're 48, 58, 68, they may still have their teeth. The people who don't develop this daily habit, it's be a different story. Again, I see kids every single day in elementary school, and I see kids who have great teeth, and I see kids who everything in their mouth is silver, even the front teeth, caps all in the teeth.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is, you know, early on. I think, I don't want to get too far off, but we as parents, we have to instill certain habits, into our children, and some of the habits that we have developed or have not developed is a direct link to how we were parented as kids. You know what I mean? Some parents were more forceful and more strict about brushing teeth, while other parents may have been more lenient. And then down the road, kids are going to the dentist, kids are getting cavities, and then even kids as adult, they don't understand why they teeth are falling out, but they never really learned the habit even from a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just the opposite, where you were forced to make your bed up every morning and now you're rebelling. So now that you're adult, you refuse to make your bed up when you get out the bed. You'll make it up like
Yeah,
in the afternoon.
yeah, man.
I think it's interesting. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%.
Yeah. I think one thing about when it comes to habit is the being able to track and monitor them. So how do you currently track or monitor your daily habits and their effectiveness? Because at the end of the day, if it's not effective, then
I would say, um, depending upon what stage of habit formation I'm in. Okay. If it is a habit that I'm trying to create, then I use my devices to help me get there. Right. I put it on the calendar, I set notifications, things of that nature. So that way I can form those habits. After a period of time of forming those habits, it's just something in you, like you have an internal clock, and that internal clock will let you know, like, hey, remember you got to do this. Hey, remember you got to do that. So it's like for me, waking up in the morning, it is an automatic thing. When I wake up in the morning, I have to ingest something, not eat, but I have to ingest something that allows me to grow. And so sometimes I go back and rehash some things that I have already been working on, studied, whatever the case may be. But then periodically, I have intentional bouts where I am looking to inject new information in me so I can study that thing and become more knowledgeable about that particular thing. So, with that being said, me waking up in the morning at a particular time is a habit. I can set alarms to wake me up, but a lot of times I don't really need an alarm to wake up. I wake up automatically. And so tracking those habits, again, depending upon the stage of formation, the stage of habit formation that I'm in, it can become internal, it can become external. And the effectiveness of it is looking at how those habits now get me closer to the goals that I've accomplished, or the goals that I have set, or the goal that I'm looking to accomplish in the long run.
Yeah, I think also that some some habits are easier to track for their effectiveness than others. Like when you go get a checkup at the dentist, right? And she's like, "Well, you hadn't been flossing, I can tell. Every time, when I'm hitting right here, your gums start bleeding, right?" So she said, "All right, look, go back. You need to brush your teeth 3 times a day. You need to floss, yada 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 yada. You need to gargle, whatever. Go back in 6 months. That's easy to track. She can tell you, the dentist can tell you whether or not you have improved in your oral hygiene over the last 6 months. Those are easy. I think sometimes when we're trying to track our behavior, it can be a little bit more challenging, right? So if I am trying to work on um being kinder, right? Me and my wife have a conversation. You're like, "Oh, you too mean. You need to be a little bit more nicer," right? So how do I track being nice? You know what I mean? So in a sense, I'm kind of relying, in a sense, on her response to certain behaviors that I present to her in certain situations. So I think in that sense, you have to look at yourself, but you also have to look at the situation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because, when it comes to, like I said, with relationships, and this ain't just with me and my wife, this is a relationship with anybody, how effective is the relationship? You know what I mean? So um I think tracking sometimes is just looking at the overall situation, or even asking somebody, "Hey, how is," I don't know, man. I'm
No,
kind of,
no, you're good.
yeah,
You're on target. I think
yeah,
this kind of goes back because it's something that we learned in the army, and I think it transitions perfectly into civilian life. And so we have these things called measures of performance, but then you also have measures of effectiveness. So measures of performance is the step by step procedure that I had to learn in order to do a thing. So if I go from step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, ideally it'll get me to accomplishing this thing. However, we're talking about measures of effectiveness in conjunction with performance. Doing a thing is one thing, doing the thing well is something totally different. So when we start talking about behavior, are there measures of performance that I can use to change behavior? Absolutely. Right? I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. But what is the measure of effectiveness from that behavior? The external response that I receive from other people. Why? Because I cannot see everything that I am projecting. I may want to do a thing, and I'm gonna use a phrase that was used that people used to use a lot of times, unbeknowing to themselves, that it is a bad phrase to use, and it is, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Well, really, if you think about it, it is a very dismissive term, a phrase that you use to say, "I don't really care about how you feel. I'm gonna do what I want to do anyway." So when you look at that phrase does not consider the other person at all. So when we start talking about measures of effectiveness, I cannot see everything. So I'm depending upon your feedback. I'm dependent upon the feedback of the people in the chat to let me know whether or not the message is coming across ideally the way that I intended to. Because I'm from the South. You got to realize we got certain slangs and jargons and terminologies that we use that some people don't understand. I
Hmm.
may say, what, somebody may say, where you going? I'm going to see a man about a dog. Somebody may understand
Yeah.
what that means. Somebody else be like, why are you going to get a dog? No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a dog. It's never mind. That's all right. You see what I'm saying?
Or the
So,
bathroom.
right, exactly. That could be where I'm going. It's
Yeah.
really just telling you, it's none of your business. But
Yeah.
the point is, the point is that there are things that we can do to improve behavior that are step by step procedures. But then, in doing that thing, what is the now effect that I am projecting in the environment? How are the people now affected by what it is that I'm doing? And the only way that I'm going to know that I am achieving the desired effect is if they give me the feedback that I need and I compare their feedback with my intent.
Mm. Yeah, man. I like that one. Man, let's go to the next question because I think it's a good one. What is an example of a habit you've successfully integrated into your routine?
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
forgot.
No, go
Well,
ahead.
I think I kind of gave mine a few seconds ago. My apologies. Um, so for me, like waking up at 4:30 is a habit, and it is a habit I chose to maintain because I did it when I was in the army. But instead of doing PT like we would normally do, my PT is now mental. So the successful integration of that was me being intentional about digesting brand new information for the sake of what it is that I actually do. Because as a professional development coach, I think it's important that you have a well-rounded perspective of a number of different things. You don't necessarily have to be a subject matter expert on everything. You just need to have a working knowledge on many things, because that if you have that, then being aware of some of the things that people talk about really help. So the successful integration of ingesting brand new knowledge routinely has become the thing, and I'm really enjoying that because it's allowing me to connect some dots that in the past I would have never connected.
I would say for me, I don't practice it as much as I used to, but when I was practicing it and I was being very consistent with it was very, very helpful. And that is honestly was meditation. A few years ago, I got really deep into it, to where I was doing it every day. That was the first thing I did. I got up in the morning, I brushed my teeth, I put my headphones on, and I lay down on the floor and I just meditate for about 15 to 20 minutes every single day. And it was very eye opening. Initially, sometimes I would kind of nod off a little bit, but as I got into it, and that was okay, but as I kind of got better at it, it just a lot of times when I ran after that or worked out after that, I was a lot more focused. I was a lot more just everything just seemed to be working a lot better when I started my runs. And I guess it was because mentally I was okay. I wasn't just rolling out of the bed, throwing on my shoes and going. Now and I had like a little routine, and it was very helpful, man. It was very helpful, man. Have you ever spent any time like on meditation or mindfulness, different things like that?
I do. That's part of my morning routine. So me ingesting the information, especially the brand new information, there is a meditation piece that happens after that, to where I tend to focus on what it was I was reading, focus on what it was I was studying. And what that does for me, and it's a challenge because, and I'm saying this initially, it's a challenge up front because your mind want to drift into a number of different arenas. Like case in point, I'm talking about these shades here, right? So this was the brand new information that I digested today. And so now you can start, you want to start, your mind wants to start tying these shades to other things. I can wear them when I go to the range. I can wear them when I'm driving down the street. Like, no, 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 no. Just stay focused on the shades. And that was my initial challenge with it, because with brand new information, you start having all types of thoughts and you just start firing off, different thoughts. So being able to bring that in and hone it in on that particular piece of information that that I was focused on, and then just stay there for at least 5 minutes at a minimum, right? Focus on it and just stay focused. I think for me, like you just said, I think for me that kind of helps me to um, get a better understanding of it, not just from the information that I read, but what I think about that particular information as well. So, in that space of meditation, this is where I am considering the raw information. And then I am trying to get to the point of not just taking the information and turning it into knowledge, but understanding how I can implement it in that moment. And that's what meditation looked like for me. And I enjoy it because generally when I come out of it, I have several ideas that I can implement afterwards. So yes, I do practice meditation. And again, I like to say this because some people I know they struggle with it. They struggle with meditating. They struggle with, the rigors of everything that they have to do in their life. And it's too easy to jump down and go down the rabbit hole about, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, for that moment, you don't, right? That's how you have to think about it. You don't have anything to do within these 5, 10, 15 minutes of meditation, but focus on that one thing that I'm thinking about.
We both sat over here and talked about how meditation has been beneficial to both of us, right? But let's be honest. How many people in our community grow up learning about meditation? I didn't. You know what I mean? And at least anybody that I know, around my age and growing up, this wasn't even a thing. Or if it was, I didn't really hear about it. So with that being said, when do you think you started like gravitating towards meditation, or where did it even come from? Because it didn't just like we didn't just pull it out of the air and say, "Hey, you know what? Now I'm gonna start meditating." Like we got it from somewhere. So for you, where do you think that started from? Because I didn't get this growing up.
So no, this is a great question. I man, I'm trying to remember. It's a book. Um, so part of the things that I teach when I'm teaching at work, I just say it that way, is part of the leadership block. And once I get to the end, I have them do this thing called the one word focus. And I talk to them about what the one word focus is. And the one word focus is just pick one thing that you want to focus on for the next, 6 months or what, a year or whatever. For them, it's the entire time that they're in school, right? So, what is the one thing that you want to focus on? I go person by person and I have them give me what that one word is. Well, I've been taught a long time ago if you really want to get good at a thing, teach a thing, right? Because now what that's going to force you to do is to study the ins and outs of it. So as I started reading this book, and I can't remember the name of the book right now, I put it in the chats here shortly.
Okay.
But as I started focusing on the one word focus, I'm like, you know what? That's meditation. And so if you can pick one word, and that's for everybody in the chat, and that might be my actionable step coming up, right? If you can pick one word, focus on that one word for a period of time, and I don't care what it is, and let's just say that one word is meditation, right? If meditation is your one word, then you focus on meditation for the next 6, 8, 12 months. How are you going to implement it? What does meditation look like to you? When will you meditate? Like, so you're really honing in on that one word, and you're trying to find how that word is going to benefit you moving forward. Well, as I started paying attention to the one word focus, I said, you know what? I need to do this. Right?
Mm.
I'm telling them to do it. Why would I not do it? It doesn't make sense. Why would you teach a person to do a thing that you're not actively doing? So that would make me a unauthentic teacher. I'm not being genuine. So then I started focusing. I started, choosing meditation. And really, what I started doing, if I'm being completely transparent, my meditative practices would be on what the Bible would actually say. So I started meditating on what that says because that's a scripture to meditate on the Word of God. So I would literally take one scripture and I would just meditate on that scripture. How does that scripture benefit me? What does that mean to implement in my life? Like, how would I do that? How would if I'm focusing on the scripture, how would I interact with people according to the scripture? And so I have to say, it had to be about yeah, probably about 7, 8 years ago when I really started paying attention to meditation. Now, that does not mean I started meditating 7, 8 years ago. That
Yeah.
means I became aware that I need to start meditating. And then
Mm.
I would say I started putting it into practice probably about 5 years ago. And it wasn't a consistent thing. It was like, hey, I need to meditate. Hey, I need to meditate. Then I got more intentional. And then when I started doing that, it just made a world of difference.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing, at least in my experience, and I've heard similar experiences from other people. Isn't it amazing, like some of the ideas and the information that you get when you meditate or when you just be still and just listen? Like for me, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I miss most of all because I'm not consistent with my meditation practices right now. Um, but I remember, man, it's just like so much information used to just come to me. It's like ideas, thoughts, shows like programs, visions, just, ideas about my relationship, what I want to do in the yard. Just like I would just be overwhelmed with information. And to me, it it just goes to show like how important it is sometimes to like just put this joker down. Something, yeah, this is my phone. I know it looked like that, but sometimes just put it down or cut the TV off or just do nothing, and it's something how we tell people to, when you come in your house, take your shoes off, right? But then when we go outside in our yard, we usually have shoes on. It's like we connect to the earth, we put shoes on. But in the house, we take them off. I don't know, man, but I don't know something about that connection with the earth, man. I like having my shoes off outside sometimes, but I don't know, man. I need to get back on. I need to get back on my game, man. So much stuff come out of it, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I
We can
think I
we
want
can have a
to.
conversation about that part later because you're right. There is
Yeah.
definitely a connection between you and the earth.
Mm. Ooh. What challenges have you faced when trying to establish new habits? Work, people, the army, my kids. I don't know how to do it. I got bills to pay. I got life, right? There's always going to be a challenge out there, right? So any of those things can be a challenge. So I think one of the biggest challenges when faced with trying to establish new daily habits is discipline or lack of discipline. I think a lot of times, um I will also say this. I wrote it down. Lack of information. But I
Mm.
wanna stick more to, the discipline, please, because if you have the information, then you can be disciplined, but I think I'm gonna start with discipline. A lot of times, and I'm just gonna go back to fitness again. When you are trying to establish a new daily habit of moving your body, if you haven't built up the discipline, then it probably won't last. A lot of people say, "Well, you got to start off. You got to go and get motivated." Yes, motivation is a great starter. It's a good starting point. It's like the kindling to the fire.
Yeah,
But after the motivation wears off, and you don't want to get up in the morning anymore, you have to have something else there. So that's why it's kind of important to develop some level of discipline to be able to go along with it. So I would say for a lot of people, it's not that they can't lose weight. It's not that they can't run. It's not that they can't walk. It's not that they can't. A lot of the problem is they haven't developed the discipline to go out and try and establish that new daily habit. So for me, my short one word answer would be discipline.
I like that. I really do. I mean, I really like that response. Um, for me, I think there is only one challenge that we face when it comes down to establishing new daily habits, and that challenge is me. That's always the challenge.
What
It,
you talk about, Willis?
I'm just saying, I am the only person that stands in my way of establishing new daily habits. Anything else that I use, anything else that I use, I'm just being honest, is an excuse. Now, to your point, I'm agreeing discipline is it, but you're disciplined at being undisciplined. That's the key. So I am the only thing that I can't blame my job. I can't blame my family. I can't blame time. I can't blame the dog. I can't blame anything else. The only thing that prevents you from establishing new daily habits, from accomplishing any goal that you have, from doing whatever it is you want to do, is you. Once you own that part, then you can remove all the excuses out of the way and you can focus on disciplining this thing right here. Once I discipline this, then I can begin the process of new daily habits. And here's the best part about it, and I like you kind of touched on it earlier. Like you said, I meditate, but I'm not really disciplined. I don't do it consistently. But I say it like this: instead of looking at what I'm not doing, give myself credit for what I am doing. You see what I'm saying? And then when I give myself credit for what I am doing, look at the benefit of actually doing it. Like you said, after meditation, man, I have clarity of mind. I have this. I get these new ideas, all this other great stuff. Let that be the carrot on the stick, and let that be the driving force for you to create the discipline. Like I want those new ideas. I want that clarity of mind, and so forth and so on. So how do I get it? Go back and do some more meditation, right? So for me, again, I am the only person standing in my way from accomplishing anything that I want to do. Now, what do I need to do so that I can get out of my own way and partner with me so that I can move forward? Well, what I need to do is have a good conversation with myself. So I say self, and self will say, huh? What you need to do, right? I'm serious.
Yeah,
You really
talk
gotta,
yourself.
yeah, you really gotta talk with self because self gets in the way all the time. Self be tired because you didn't get enough sleep last night. Self be like, hey, your favorite TV show is coming on tonight, but I got this paper I need to finish that I need to submit by midnight. But self like, but look, this is only so you'll negotiate with yourself on procrastinating to do the thing that you know that you really need to do. And that's one of the things that I had to do when I was, doing my well, we both finished our masters, but when I was doing my masters, I had to put myself on a strict regime. 7 to 10, this thing was not touched. If it wasn't a life, limb, or eyesight, don't call me. If you call me, I'm about to disappoint you. If it's between 7 to 10, and I had to do that because that allowed me to focus the energy that I needed to focus on the work that I needed to do so that I can accomplish it. And this was every day, Sunday, Sunday to Saturday, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's where you'll find me stuck in front of this computer with my face in a book or reading something on the screen because I needed to get to the end.
Yeah, man. I remember them days. I don't miss them at all.
Me either.
I do not miss them. I do not miss being stuck in that book, man. Shoot, at all. At all, man. Yes, I think it's a lot. 'Cause I think a lot of people just struggle with um daily habits, man, just trying to figure out how to establish new ones. And I know you said me. I said discipline. You said self, but I also want to say I think that sometimes it's just lack of information. I think sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
I knew for me, I didn't know the power of meditation until I started doing it. I didn't know how effective it could be, and but also that goes back into learning more about yourself and working on yourself, trying to be a better self on a daily basis. So I think, all of those things are good, man.
Yeah.
Great talking points so far.
Yeah. That's why it's called self discipline. I love it.
Discipline. There you go. Oh man. How do you stay motivated? And how do you stay motivated to maintain your daily habits over time? You
For me,
ain't. You ain't going to stay motivated. First of all, most people are not going to stay motivated the entire time. Now, some people are, but whether you're building a business, you know how many times when I was doing elevator dialogue, or I was
hmm
just like, man, I'm done. I don't
hmm
want to do another show. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't that it was necessarily the people, it was sometimes the work that I had put into it, and I didn't necessarily see the benefit from it that I wanted to see, you
yeah,
know? So, but man, I ain't got time to worry about no motivation. Motivation is going to go away. So, but in the essence of this being a question, I'm going to answer it as though a different way. So how do you stay motivated to maintain your daily habits over time? I think just one simple thing would focus, create small goals, small attainable goals that work towards the larger goal, and then kind of give yourself a pat on the back for creating those small goals. If the long goal is to lose 10 pounds, right? So instead of just celebrating after the 10 pounds, after the 1 pound, say, all right, look, after the 1 pound, I lose the 1 pound. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna reward ourselves. It don't necessarily mean go add the extra pound on, but figure out a way to reward yourself for it, right? So then you're like, all right, boom, I lost the 1 pound, I got a reward for it. Boom. Now at mile three, I mean, not mile three, at pound three, there's another reward. Boom. So I need to lose 2 more pounds so I can go get me another reward. So what you do is you increase the reward a little bit, but you also gave yourself a reward over time. So in essence, what that should do is should keep you motivated to want to keep going until you increase, until you lose the entire 10 pounds. So that's my 2 cents.
I like it. I like it, and you're really right where I'm at when it comes down to this question. Um, I would say the first thing to understand as it pertains to this question is that motivation was never intended to sustain you over a long period of time. And I know a lot of people talk about motivation and all of that. Other stuff. Motivation is like the sugar rush that you get when you're trying to have a sustained energy output. So when you really break that thing down, you're going to have the first part of it is going to be sugar, and then you're going to have the caffeine. The sugar kicks in instantly, the caffeine sustains over the period of time. So you're not looking for the sugar. The sugar is going to be there, right? I am looking to be inspired for something that is over a long period of time, right? The internal spirit within me. I need to connect with that thing. So now there's an internal fire within me that is ignited. It's burning deep within. It takes me beyond just sheer excitement for the moment. And so that internal flame that's burning within that makes me look at the longer goal and realize that the longer goal isn't just for me, it's more so for the people that I'm called to serve. So now the motivation is the thing that gets me from benchmark to benchmark. Those are those incremental goals along the way, right? So I am motivated from here to here. Once I get here, we celebrate, like you said. Well, that celebration is supposed to be another sugar rush, and so that gets me from this goal to this goal, another sugar rush. That's how it works. But the caffeine, and I'm only using these as metaphors. I don't necessarily mean them literally. So don't go out and buy sugar and caffeine and mix them together and think you're going to drink that every day and that gives you enough energy to go. No, don't do that. Don't do that. These are just metaphors. Okay. Um, the inspiration is the thing that gets me to focus on the end state. If I keep my focus on the end state, that's the thing that really do not allow me to quit. I love your reference when you talked about the elevated dialogue because even in that you kept going. You kept going long after you wanted to quit, right?
Yeah.
So you got to realize, most people got to realize that it's something that's inside of you, the larger goal that you're working towards that keep you sustained over a period of time. And then again, that sugar rush, that motivation that gets you from benchmark to benchmark, do not
Mhm.
forget to celebrate because when you do not celebrate at the accomplishment of a benchmark, then you start to deteriorate. You start to get tired. You start to fade away simply because you're no longer seeing the value. And the sad part about it is that the people that you're serving, if they don't necessarily understand it, they need to celebrate with you, that they can celebrate with you, you start to question whether or not you're authentically serving the people.
Mm. Yeah, I think I wrote down being a better person. We were talking about um I looked at what the example I gave with fitness. That's easily that's easy to monitor. That's easy to assess. So I guess in a sense, I kind of want to talk about something that's not easily us that we can't easily see or that is not as easily trackable as other things. Because there are some people out there saying, "Hey, look, I'm just trying to be. I just want to be a better person." You know what I'm saying? So say for instance, they are to be a better person. They're, greeting, I don't know, doing something. They've created some habit. You know what I mean? So how do you like we may have already kind of talked about it, and maybe I'm just kind of circling back around in my head. And the more I think about it, I think I am. So I'm a pause for right there, and I think it may be a good time. I've been getting some good feedback, man, about these true and false questions. What about you?
I love them. I
You
love
like
them.
'em? Yeah,
Absolutely.
man. Here's the first one. This is a good one. He ain't let me get it out. Forming a new habit takes exactly 21 days.
False.
False. How many days does it take?
So it's not an exact science.
Okay,
Okay.
I like that.
However, for a large preponderance, it's more so 66 days. This is, I remember this being things that they talked about years ago, and people will focus on the 21-day thing. But the 21-day thing really just kind of gets your mind going about doing the thing. But generally, after 21 days, and if you guys don't believe me, just pay attention right around January 1st to January 30th, because there's a lot of people who will go to the gym on January right around January 1st, but probably right around February 15th, the gym start thinning out. Around
Mhm.
March, it's thin, and the only people that's left in the gym are the people who started off in the gym last year. So it
Yeah.
takes about 66 days to form a habit.
Mm. I'm thinking I definitely know it's false because I know everybody's different and that's a mute point. However, everybody is because we are so different, it can't be an exact 21 days. It could be an average or a guesstimate or something like that. But I like the 66. But with 21, it's kind of like I know I've did a whole bunch of things for 21 days and then not did them. It didn't form a habit, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
If I may, because
yeah.
and here's what I wouldn't say that we're all different, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of like the overarching thing that we'll say. We're all different. Well, it's
Yeah.
not really that we're all different. Let's just say, um, for me, if you say, hey, come on, I'm gonna help you form a habit of working out, it's not going to take me 66 days to acquire a habit of working out because I
Yeah.
did it before. I mean, when I say I used to do it, I used to do it. I'm talking about meal portions and everything, scheduled workout. So it won't take me 21 days to get there. It won't take
Mhm.
66 days to get there. It'll take me
Yeah.
about 14 days because
Mhm.
I'm getting my body back into the swing of thing. And for me, is getting back into the swing of thing to where I am chasing the lactic acid pain that I received the next day. Remember, we talked about that before. That was
Yeah.
my goal. If I didn't get the lactic acid, I didn't do nothing the day before. So that would be me getting my mind back into the mindset of chasing the lactic acid. So for me, it's not that I'm different. It's just that I had that before. So it'll take me less to get back there. So some of the habits that some people are looking to obtain, they've already got a good base. They've already got a good foundation to where they can get into the swing of things. But if you take something that's brand new that a person has never had any experience with, that would be the thing that get them closer to around the 66 days. And a lot of us, we like to say that, well, if I fix my mind, yeah, that sounds great until life starts happening and your mind be like, hey, wait, I wasn't expecting that. Like
Yep.
life hits harder than what I thought it did. Yeah, that's true. So it's being able to take the blows from life and then be resilient enough to bounce back regardless of what life dished out in response.
Yeah. I like it. Daily habits are more effective when they are small and manageable. True or false?
True.
I would say true too. Um, I think a lot of things are easier when you can break them down into smaller bites. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Mhm.
So it's a real simple one for me. Got anything else for it or no?
Real quick, the only
Mhm.
reason I say that is because, especially when you're starting a new habit, sometimes what we do is we start looking at tasks that are too tall for us in the beginning. And then when we do not accomplish the task the way that we've seen ourselves accomplishing it, what ends up happening is that we become deterred. And then because we don't get that feedback, that feeling that we did a good thing, we don't look at progression as the goal. We look at accomplishment as the goal, right? So now that becomes a problem, and then I'm more likely to quit. But if they're small and more manageable, They're easy to accomplish. I can get that sugar rush, and then I can keep moving forward to the next one.
Okay. Yeah. Um, True false. It is essential to change multiple habits at once to see significant improvements.
Oh,
I'm going.
you want me to answer
Yeah,
that
what you got?
one? 2 thumbs down.
Yeah, I would say false.
2 thumbs down.
Um, I think depend on where you at in your life, you can do it. I think for most people, it's probably false, and it's probably not the best thing to do. Um, yeah.
This is a life circumstance. That's what I believe. I
What do you
believe
mean?
when life happens to you and
Mhm.
forces you to change, then you're forced to change multiple habits at once.
Mm.
But when you get the choice to decide, focus on one thing and throw yourself at that one thing that you're changing.
All right. So if to make sure that I'm clear and I understand what you're saying, here's what I'm thinking when you said that. I am 50 years old. I get diagnosed with an illness, and now it forces me to lose weight. It forces me to eat healthier. It forces me to work out more. Is that what you mean right there by
Actually,
life happening to where you got to change multiple things at once?
absolutely.
Mm.
Another great example is going through a divorce. Generally,
Mm.
most people who are married, they have joint accounts, joint everything. When they go through a divorce, they are forced in a downward spiral to change multiple habits at one time. You're going to change the number of people that you deal with in your house. You're going to change the way that you handle your finances. You're literally going to change your life, and it's a forced change. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It can be a point of anxiety.
Mhm.
So if you put yourself intentionally into something of that nature, you're gonna withdraw. So no, that's just too much at one time.
Yeah. Oh, I like that one. That was a good one. What's the next one? Tracking your habits can help reinforce and maintain them. True.
Absolutely.
Um, I think, like we talk about journaling, writing things down, calendars, schedules,
Accountability
all of those things. What was that?
accountability partners.
Accountability partners are good, especially if they're effective accountability partners. Not
Absolutely.
just, not just people just say, "Yeah, girl, you good. Yeah, boy, yeah, go and do your thing."
You
Yeah,
did
no,
good just by waking up.
yeah, yeah. And you waking up to stress and pain and suffering every day. Yeah, but whatever. Um, Morning routines are the only effective time for implementing new habits. False. Um, no.
Now there is a caveat.
Caveat.
I agree that this is a false statement, but there is a caveat
Mm-hmm.
because you need to understand the concept of energy management,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which means that I need to look at during what time of day do I have the most energy. Some people prefer to do it in the daytime, early in the morning time, between the time they wake up and lunchtime, because that's their highest energy output. And even in the work environment, this is where they schedule all of their meetings and all of that other stuff. Why? Because this is where they put out a majority of their energy output. Generally, after lunch, we tend to slow down. We go eat, go out there and get some Chipotle, all that great stuff. And then we come back and sit in the chair, and there's a magic button on our bottom that makes us want to go to sleep. So, this may not be the time that I want to implement a new habit. Or you may view it just the opposite. This is the time that I want to implement my new workout habit because it forces me to wake up. So it's a number of different ways to say it. However, I say look at what time of day that you put out the most energy, and then look at implementing those new habits there.
Yeah. I like morning though. Just, mine is the question. We've already answered the question, but one thing I do like about the morning and kind of part of my thought process behind that is, kind of came from tithing, right?
Mm,
So, I was taught about tithing years ago. Um, I have a much different perspective on it based off how I grew up.
mhm.
But paying something with your or giving your best or giving your top 10 or your best 10% or whatever like that to something. I understand that and I like that. So what I decided to do was I'm going to give the best part of my day to myself. So when I get paid financially, the first thing I do is I pay myself. When I get up in the morning, first thing I do is I pay myself. I go do something for me first. You
Yeah.
know, that whole hour or whatever like that that I do in the morning, that's for me.
Yeah.
Now I got 23 other hours. I can hang out with Coach. I can hang out with Vonda. I can hang out with Shell, Mister, whoever else. But I had to make sure that I take care of me first. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good daily habit that I use. Take care of me first, get myself the first 10% of the day. Y'all can have the rest. Because look, man, you know how many people they get up and they go to work and they have the most energy and they give it to their boss and to their co-workers and to their job. And then they come home defeated. And now they only got a little bit to give to their wife, a little bit to give to their husband, a little bit to give to their kids. You know what I mean? A little bit to give to the community because they've given so much of who they were to the job. So I just like, man, bump that. I'm giving it to me. So I get my hand puffs up in the morning. I take care of me. So when I get off of work at the afternoon, I already took care of me. I
Yeah.
already filled my cup and overflowed. So I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole, but
Oh no,
it's
man.
our show and we can.
Yeah, I love it. That's the reason why I made Make Money Master 2024. Because
Yeah.
again, like you said, you have to get to the point to where you recognize that you gave all of yourself to your job. But what were you created to do?
Mm.
Get to that point to understand what you were created to do, and then do that, and then realize that that was supposed to be the business that you were doing, that you were created to do. But anyway, that's off topic.
Mm. Man, we got one more. I think it's one more question. Yeah, it's the last one, and then we got actionable advice. Habits are created unconsciously.
Ooh, this is good.
It is. I think true and false. I think yes and no. I think some habits are created unconsciously. Like like at some point I wasn't unconscious, but I wasn't conscious enough to know that I had to brush my teeth every day at some point. You know what I mean? But Charlotte Jordan at some point was like, get up and brush your teeth. How many people say their grace? You know what I mean? Is that something that they did I know they're conscious decisions now, but I'm talking about the initial point of the habit when it was initially created. Was it conscious or unconscious? So I think for the most part, I think when you have a certain level of consciousness, then they're conscious. But I think at some point in our life, they were unconscious. I don't know. That's what I think. This is a good one.
I like it. Um, I would say true and false.
Yeah.
Because there are some habits that you have that are unconscious. You didn't know baby was ever taught how to suck when they were born. So that's an unconscious that habit that they actually have. When they get anything close to their mouth, they start pulling on it. That's an unconscious habit. However, baby had to learn how to walk. Initially, it was conscious. That's why they aimed their arms in the air, trying to keep their balance and walking like George Jefferson, right? But then as they started to develop the walking skill, it turned into an unconscious habit. Like right now, if you get up and go to the kitchen and get some water, you don't have to think, all right, left foot, lift up, move forward, so forth and so on. So there are some habits that we have that are unconscious, like they would literally just inject it in us. But then the habits from that point moving forward, they have to be conscious first and then they become unconscious.
I like that, man. Hey, well, we almost done, man. Actionable advice, and then I guess we out, man. Unless you
Yes, sir.
got anything else.
No, sir.
All right, let's do it. All right, man. Who going first? You or me?
I'll go first.
All right.
I kind of gave it a little bit earlier, but my actionable advice is the one word focus. And I think this is interesting because if you find one word, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be kindness, it can be humility, and humility is a great one to have. Once you find that word, then your job from that point on is to constantly figure out how you can implement your understanding of that word into your life on a daily basis. So, in other words, if humility is my one word focus, then how can I exercise humility in any given situation I find myself? And that becomes intentional every day. And the more you do that, you'll find that you'll turn that into a habit.
My actual advice for the next week is to meditate. So the reason why this came up is, like I said, I haven't been I haven't been consistent with my meditation, but it was so much information that comes from meditation. Now, this is if you are a person who meditates. I understand that meditation is not for everybody. However, if you have never done it, try it and see if there is a benefit for you. Because it may not be beneficial to you, it may not be your thing, and that is fine. But I would say for the next 7 days, go and meditate and really pay attention. Even take a notepad with you so after you get done, you can write stuff down. But really meditate and pay attention to what goes on during the meditation and look for information to be given to you. So that means that while you're meditating, and then even throughout the day, sometimes like look for quiet moments to listen to yourself and see what information comes throughout the day. So that's my actual advice for the next 7 days. Figure out a few minutes of a day and meditate. And with that being said, hey man, we'll be back here again next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out the Hearts Man podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What else? What else we missing? Nope.
Uh, yeah, we got Hearts and Men on Friday. This Saturday coming up, we have Make Money Master 2024. As you guys already know, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here, Coach's Corner. Just stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. And with that being said, folks, we are out.